incredible outreach for VBS, and we're going to go ahead and continue that vein with Rock the Lot as well. And I want to see everybody involved in that in some way. We'll talk to you more about that later. But you guys first met at Rock the Lot, right, David?
It was during the Halloween.
Oh, the Halloween thing.
It was Halloween.
Another great outreach. All right.
I had a chance to pray with Oliver during Halloween, and I'll just let Oliver share what happened to him. I just kind of released the presence of God over him, and lightning struck. And then he had another testimony from another lady that prayed for him, so I'll let Oliver share.
Morning, family. My name's Oliver, and last year I was sort of on the fence. I sort of believed, but I didn't believe because of I went through as a kid. I was born with addictions, and so my life started out on a real rocky road. 18 years in and out of prison and everything. I didn't see how God could care about me. And 3.5 years ago, I found out I had cancer, and I beat cancer once, and then it went into my liver. And this winter, I got sent to Seattle to go through chemotherapy and some radiation treatments. And friends invited me for Halloween. I came over, and we came out here to the parking lot to give out candy and stuff. And it was a great time, and I was really sick, and a bunch of people got together and they prayed over me. And when I held my hands out and he had his hands about 6 inches above mine, I could feel the electricity coming from his hand to mine. And I never felt nothing like that. My whole body got hot. I started shaking, felt like I was going to pass out. And things got better for a little bit. But then a week before Christmas, my body completely shut down, and I ended up with double pneumonia, and they had to stop my chemo. Things progressively got worse. I've had double pneumonia twice and pneumonia 7 times since Christmas. My immune system was completely gone. 4.5 months ago, I was given 6 months to live. Up to then, I had 3.5 years clean. I tried to walk the right road and walk with the Lord, and I lost faith of what we can do together. And it was about what was I going to do. And I went back to using because I didn't know what else to do. And things progressively got worse. I got put on oxygen. I couldn't speak more than 30 words without frothing blood out of my mouth. I haven't been able to taste nothing since September when I started the chemo and the radiation treatments. I couldn't lay flat on my back and sleep because every time I did, my lungs filled up. Come to find out, I had somehow when my immune system shut down, I got black mold in my lungs, and it was eating my lungs, my liver, my kidneys, and some friends introduced me to this doctor 4.5 months ago. So when the state found out I had a terminal lung disease, they took my insurance. And so now I'm stuck. And my friend said, well, I know this doctor. He's a good Christian doctor, and maybe he'll help you. So I went and seen him, and he says, Oliver, he says, I normally don't see anybody without insurance or some kind of payment. He says, but shake my hand. So I shook his hand, and he says, okay, I'll see you. And I asked him, I said, well, what did the handshake have to do with it? And he told me, he says, well, the Lord just told me something miraculous is going to happen in your life. So he took me on. My oxygen tanks ain't cheap. My treatment machines weren't cheap. He's seen me twice a week for the last 4.5 months. 2 weeks ago, I'm shaking already. 2 weeks ago, some ladies from Hermiston, Oregon came and saw me and said they want to pray with me. And they did like Dave and them did. They put hands on me, and the lady started praying for me. And she said she wanted to pray for my lungs. And when this lady put her hand on my back, it wasn't like me touching Dave. It was felt it through my whole body, and felt like I was being touched by an angel. And it just, I can't explain the feeling. She got done praying for my lungs, and she goes, and I need to pray for your liver because your liver wasn't healed through your chemo this winter. And I need to pray for your stomach because you've been bleeding for the last 4 weeks and haven't said nothing to nobody. I sense I need to pray for your knees because when you was a kid, somebody close to you beat you severely and broke bones. When I was 10 years old, my stepdad beat me with a baseball bat, put me in a coma for 4 months because I went to the cops about him molesting me and my sister. And I left home. I've been on the street since I was 11. After she got done praying, one of the other ladies started praying. And then the same lady leaned in and said, Oliver, God just told me to tell you that the nightmares you've been having for the last 3 weeks won't haunt you anymore. And this lady told me my nightmares in vivid detail like she was in them with me. And that got scary. But that wasn't the scariest part, After they were done, she said, when you're given a gift from God, you have to share it. And there was another gentleman they had brought with him that needed prayer. He had a stroke a couple months back and was struggling. So I started praying for him. About halfway through this prayer, I couldn't get no words to come out of my mouth. It was just a bunch of noise. And I started crying because I couldn't stop. The other gentleman that was with me started praying at the same time. And when I was done, they said it was the Holy Spirit entered my body, and I was praying in tongues, and he was interpreting everything I said. That was scary. Because up till this time, I only half-heartedly believed. Because when we were sent to church as kids, we were taught that God was so loving and He was caring, But we went home to something totally different. 26 days ago today, I dropped to my knees and I asked God, I said, they say you'll never give us more than we can bear. But I can't bear no more. And will you please forgive me for what I'm about to do? And I was going to take my life 26 days ago. And God started putting little miracles in my life. And 2 weeks ago, He performed one that no matter what Satan does, he can never beat it. And I went to my doctor's that Tuesday. It'll be 2 weeks this Tuesday. And I was supposed to get my final physical before I started the last medication that they thought might help me. And I was going to do a 4 weeks intensive treatment where I had to go to the hospital for 4 hours a day and get this drug that's not even on the market yet, administered by IV. So he goes down with a scope and he's looking at my lungs, and he goes with another scope and he's looking at my liver and my kidneys, and comes back and says, Oliver, we got to do an MRI. I said, what's wrong now? He says, I don't know yet. So they got me in this machine and they're looking at all these pictures on the computer screen, and he comes back and he sits next to me and he says, Oliver, he says, what'd you do this weekend? I said, not really much of nothing, some people came and prayed for me, and a lady put hands on me, and he says, how'd it feel? I said, it didn't feel like no person put hands on me. Oliver, it's a good thing I'm a Christian man. He says, remember when we first met, I shook your hand, and God said something miraculous was going to happen in your life. So what's going on? He says, well, here, I'll show you. So they showed me the prints from a week prior. My lungs had more black than they did white. My liver and my kidneys had more spots on it than a girl's polka dot bikini did. And he says, now here's what we see today. Everything's completely gone. The scar tissue that was on my liver from chemo this winter is gone. I put 25 pounds on in 2 weeks because I've been eating everything in sight because it tastes so darn good. My doctor tells me, he says, Oliver, he says, so me and you know as Christian men what happened. He says, that was the hand of God that touched you. He says, but I can't write that in my report because they'll take my medical license. So they sent me to Cadillac, and they did a spinal tap and 3 biopsies, both my lungs and my liver, and I was there 6 hours. Well, I didn't know I had that much blood in me, and they called me Friday. Now, I'll be 46 in a few weeks. My doctor says, so we got the results of all the tests. Are you ready? I said, yep. He says, Oliver, it's official. He says, you are now healthier than most 20-year-old men I know. It wasn't a few days ago. I think it was like last Friday. I was in the yard doing backflips with the kids. My friend's daughter looks at me and says, how old are you? And I told her. She says, I didn't know old men could do flips like that. I had to look at her and tell her, you know what? I didn't know I could do it either. I just knew I could. And I've been doing them since I was a kid. But, the Lord has blessed me. And I have been sharing every day with anybody and everybody that will listen. From the motel clerks this morning at 4 o'clock because I got up and couldn't sleep, to the lady that let me in my room just before church because I locked my key in there. And we exchanged email addresses because she wanted to share it with her pastor. My pastor went on vacation right after I got the news, and I told him, he says, well, don't share with the church. I want to be there. So he won't be back till next Sunday. So I haven't went to my church in 2 weeks because if I go, I'm going to share. I want the church to know, because the church has walked through with this with me. They've seen how sick I was. They've came and prayed over me day after day after day when I couldn't breathe and I'm frothing blood up, and they got to wipe me up and clean me up. Yeah. I got to call the lady that put hands on me and prayed for me. 2 days after we finally got together, and she told me, she says, Oliver, she says, I'm so thankful. She said, and it's truly God. She said, well, all the praise goes to God. She says, but I want to share something with you real quick. She said, when I was a little girl, I was in a car wreck, and I was paralyzed from the neck down. Her back was broken 4 places. She says, my whole life I've had to wait on people to feed me, clothe me, and basically all her needs, you know. And 4 years ago, God sent a lady to touch her and pray over her, and she got up and walked. She's never had physical therapy, and she's been carrying God's message. And she told me, she said, I'm just glad that God used me as the vessel to touch you and heal you like He did me. And I am so thankful. I got her name is Chris, and it's in my phone. It's Chris my angel, because that's how I look at her. And Sunday, I think Satan tried to attack me last week because I was bit by a brown recluse under my arm. Tuesday, I was rushed in for emergency surgery because I had red streaks coming across my chest. But you know what? It's okay, because there's nothing Satan can do to me today that's going to top what the Lord did to me, and that gave me my life back. And I am very grateful. I'm very grateful.